All right, y'all. I'm using this door right here as the finished product. So I'm just going to set it up real quick, and then we're going to get into how to actually do the door, the whole thing, the whole process. But this one, when I finish the other one, I want to be able to show you one that's completed. You know, then I got a couple other tips at the end, but we'll get to all that. I just, sometimes I go in the store or I talk to people, and a lot of people think you just can't cut the hollow doors. Even a lot of salesmen, you go to the store, they tell you, well, you can only cut these so much or else you're going to ruin the door. Not true. I'm not going to say it's a lie. I'm just going to say it's a not truth. All right, now, first things first, you have to measure to where you're going to cut the door. Now, normally what I do is I just use the old door as a template and put it right on top. You'll see me do that for something else later, but now I'm using the old door as a table. So I can't move it right now. Now, I have a track saw to cut the door. If you don't, which most of you I know don't have a track saw, you're basically you're going to have to wrap around the door with blue tape. Wrap around the door with blue tape. Put your saw up and see where your saw blade is going to line up with that cut. And then right up against the saw, you're going to put a piece of wood. Now, you can use a 2x4 or something like that, but if you want to ensure the straightness a little more, usually a 1x is much better. They're known to be more straight, especially because a lot of them are used for trim. So if you get like an old piece of baseboard, that's even better. And use that as the guide for your saw. But you need that tape so it won't blow out the cut, meaning it won't fray it and make it look all terrible. It won't rip it, right? Track saws now, of course, that's just, you don't need all that because they're built to make those kind of cuts without messing everything up. So as you see, the inside of the door is hollow. You have some cardboard inside of there that's kind of turned sideways to help keep the stability of the door. So what I do is I take that piece, the piece that I cut off, and you're gonna have about 1 inch block in there, like the thickness of the block is about 1 inch. So basically, if you do cut the bottom of the door and you cut it less than 1 inch, then you won't have to do any of this. But if you cut that block out that's in the bottom of the door, which is what I did, I take that block and I'll tear off all the wood veneer. This way, I don't have to cut a new piece to go on the bottom of the door. I just use the old piece that was already making the door stable. I just use it again, right? If you don't want to do this, or maybe you don't have the hand strength or whatever, you could just get a 1x anything and just cut it to the thickness of the door and put it in yourself. Cut a piece and then put it in. It'll do the same thing. This is just me being conservative, I'm always thinking like there's no point. I don't have to take out my table saw. I could just cut this piece and reuse it, and I'm going to get the same result. Now, after you remove the wood veneers, sometimes you'll have a little bit of remnants left over on the block, so I just carve it off. I'm kind of just slicing it off of there, and that's because I need the door, once I put this block in, I want the door to maintain the same thickness that it was before. Right, so if it's a 1 3/8 door, which that's what this is, I want it to have that same thickness. It does not have to be perfect though, especially if it's just gonna be a door that's gonna go into a doorway, like it's just gonna be a room door, a bathroom door, or something like that. It's really not critical to make this piece perfect. So it's just for me, this job, matter of fact, this job, I'm doing 7 doors on this, it's 7 or 8. I think it was 7 doors on this job, and 3 of them are room doors and 4 of them are closet doors. The closet doors are sliding, like bypass doors, so they have to be able to sit in the track and have to be able to slide back and forth in that track. And if the door is too thick, then it's not going to slide. It's going to get stuck. It's going to be a problem. You see I got the block here. What I'm doing right here, I'm just cutting that little bit of cardboard inside. I'm just cutting it a little bit so I can push it back so that I can fit that block in there. Now, some people might be saying, why can't you just order a door for the height that you want to order it at? Well, there are certain heights that you can get these doors ordered in, but they don't go that far custom. Like, if these doors, like this house I'm working in is about 50, it's from the 50s. And some of these doors, they just don't make them that size. It doesn't matter what you do. Nobody's just going to make this door for you. And I went to place after place after place. So You got to innovate, man. You got to figure out how to get these things done. Right here, you see, I'm just using glue, just regular old tight bond 2. No, nothing, no liquid nails, no nothing like that. I just wanted enough of that tight bond so when I push this block in, it'll just squeeze the glue and, you know, get it all over the block. The way I operate, man, is just, there's a way to do everything. There's always a way to do stuff. It don't matter, like almost whatever you're trying to do, there's a way to do it. I just tell customers a lot of times, it all depends on how much surgery you're okay with. You know, some stuff take a little more surgery than others, but almost anything can be done, right? I mean, at the worst, you gotta tear it out and start over. But they wanted this style of door, and we're gonna give them this style of door, right? The little 6 panel, almost nothing's impossible. So, like right now, you know, I'm using my multi-tool. I know this is not Makita's recommended use for this tool, but hey, it's here and it makes it perfect easily to get these things flat. I think on the other door I used the driver. So I don't know if it's just the battery, man. It just makes it real flat across. And you see how that glue is squeezing out now. Yeah, so that's it. Wipe that thing off. And then it's time to clamp it down. And the reason why I clamp it down is just like I said before. Once you get that glue on, if you don't clamp it, then even if it's a little wider than it's supposed to be, it's not gonna slide into that track like it's supposed to be. And once the glue dries, you're done. So I go ahead and I put the 1-bys on the outside of the door, and then I put the clamps on to make sure it's tight so I can get it back to that original size. All right, Shawn, now this is the original door that I was doing in the beginning, already done. You see that bottom? It looked like just from the factory. It looked like it's just from the store. So that's what this one's gonna look like once it's finished. But perfect size, perfect shape, block going across. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. Now, this door is gonna be for a regular room door, right? So as you can see, those doors are much shorter. The original doors are much shorter than the new doors, right? But I already showed you how to cut it, so we're not gonna worry about that. I'm just lining everything up perfectly, right? Seeing if I need to shave anything off the sides, getting where the spots where the hinges. Now, the hinges, every hinge is not the same. And when you start doing old houses, well, they are new houses, they're pretty much the same. And old houses, like I said, these are for the 50s, they cut these hinges into the doors themselves. So some doors like this, the cutout for the hinge goes all the way across the entire door. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just all depends on how they set the door, you know, when they first put it in. Now, of course, this is where you put the doorknob in, and I just get that little mark right in the middle of where that doorknob is gonna go. And then I put that mark straight across. It just makes it easier. Once I take this door off, everything is in place. I use a little Ryobi jig. I like it, man. Look, I know it's cheaper, and you can get the high-tech, you know, one that costs a couple $100. And I think if you're doing a lot of doors and that many in high production, it might be better for you to do that. I don't know. I've been using one of these for years, and I've never had an issue. I done chewed up the side a little bit here and there, but I mean, it works great for me, like all the time. This hinge, like I said, in this door goes all the way through the entire thickness of the door. So if you're gonna put a door back the way it was, you gotta do the hinges the exact same way they are. Or else, if you don't, you try to switch things up, then you're gonna get it all together and go try to mount it, and it's not gonna close properly. That's a promise. So don't waste your time. Just make the hinges the same way they are in the doors that are already there. Now for the mortising, I have the DeWalt jig. I have a Lennox one too. They all have the same features. They work the same way, so it doesn't really matter. The big key to this is just like I said, you gotta get that line, the line that I put there earlier, I take that and I extend it onto the top of the door. And they got a little guide for you right there. where I want that little line. You see that little notch? I'm trying to get it in focus. I want it lined up perfectly with that triangle. It's hard to see it, but I want it lined up perfectly so that I make sure that the knob and everything is gonna be in the right place. Now I know some of you are probably saying, why don't you just go get a new door? Get a pre-hung, get a split jam, just get something instead of doing all this. Well, look, some of these houses like this one I'm doing, like I told you earlier, they're from the 50s. You start opening the stuff up and the trim is different. There's just like this house has this kind of stucco kind of wallpaper. I start trying to cut on the side of the door casing and crack it or split it or do something to it. Then I got a whole other repair to do instead of just replacing the door, right? Learn how to do this stuff, get accurate with your measurements, and just replace the door. I'll even do it on new houses. I just get a slab and do it this way instead of, you know, doing the jam and everything else and trying to get a split jam door and all that. It's just easier for me to do it this way at this point. So what I'm doing, I'm checking to see if the drill bit has pierced the other side, but just the drill part of it, right? Not the saw. That way, if you know, once that's done, I'll flip this door up. See that little hole? That little hole right there? That's perfect. So once I align my drill bit, the whole saw will be aligned perfectly and it'll drill through and give me the perfect hole. If you don't do it that way, you'll have a blowout and your doorknob might not be able to cover it. It'll fray the whole edge of the door and everything. So you don't want to do it. You want to make sure you do it the way I just showed you. And by the way, you don't need these jigs. Like, they're not necessary. Like, you can measure over and just cut the holes where you need them. I like to having the jigs because, you know, a lot of times I'm doing multiple doors. The less you have to measure, the faster you can go, right? So I take the one line across, I slap this thing on, and it's already lined up. It's already, measurements already taken, and it's not super expensive. But by all means, if you are like me, if you Earl and them starting out and you just struggling, well, you got to do what you got to do, right? You might not have the money for the jig. Well, just learn how to do the measurements and just take your drill and your hole saw. You'll get the same results. That's the truth. Last thing you got to do is cut out for your latch plate. Now, what that is that when you put your latch in, there's a cover that goes around the latch plate that will protrude from the door, so it has to be recessed. So you have to cut out the area for it. All right, I didn't want to leave this out of the video. I'm not sure why it wasn't in there, but to remove this area that I said, you know, so the latch cover can be recessed, the little Ryobi tool, now you can use a chisel. That's normally what I use. And you just go from underneath and knock it underneath this way and knock it back this way and just pull this out. Or the little Ryobi tool, it has a little blade thing on here. I said blade thing, it's a blade. It has a blade on here that goes right into this hole, right? And then it just knocks sideways. So let me see if I can do it. I'm on a table right now, so it's a little hard to do, but and see, that part just comes right out. Can you turn it around? Well, I'm gonna have to turn this piece of wood around because I don't have enough room on this table. You take it right back in the other direction. And same thing. And then you could take a chisel or something, or you could actually take this. You'd actually take this blade and go back that way again, the other way, just to clean it up. But that's it. Then you'll be able to sit your latch plate right in there. Next thing, when you're gonna put on the new hinges, then you want to use a hinge drill bit. You could take a little nail or something and try to find the middle of the circle, you know, the hole for the screws. But it's so much easier to just get a hinge drill bit because it'll find the middle for you. See that? Has a little spring inside, and it's designed for the drill bit to just push through right in the dead center of that hinge. You would be surprised. If it's a little off, it can throw off the whole way the door closes. That's why people don't like to mess with doors, because doors get really specific. They don't lie to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. You want to be able to drill out the hinge that way. Boom. Hinge drill bit. Get you some. And last but not least, I'm just going to show you real quick. You know when you have a bypass door and you have to put that little bowl-shaped metal piece in so you can, as like your lever, your handle, so that you can open and close, except that, you want the handle recessed so that the door can slide past each other. This is how you drill out one of those. All you do is just you go into the door a little bit. You don't want to go too deep. You don't want to go through it, of course. And you want deep enough where your little cup is going to sit in there, right? That's it. You go a little deep, and then you take your chisel and you chip it out, right? You just chip it out until you feel like it's deep enough, and then you put your little circle thing in there. That's it, man. Look, that's all for today. It's just a bunch of tips. We'll have more on doors because, there was a time that I considered myself a door specialist, and I did ridiculous amounts of doors. So we'll get into it more and more and more. But for now, that's it, y'all. Daryl, also known as The Finisher. Stay safe, be blessed, and remember, if the trades don't work, nothing else does.